That's right. You see the big smile on my face. The reason why is because today you get to meet Jamie's husband, Josh, Jimmy, Journey, and Jet's dad. But some people would say that he has geekish tendency, and he even said he's a self-proclaimed geek and nerd. This is what he said. But other people refer to him as six-time Grammy winner, one of the top-selling groups of the last 20 years, host of Taboo's Comics and Kicks, Marvel collaborator for the last 6 years, actor, b-boy, rapper, and storyteller extraordinaire, and cancer survivor, 18 years sober. It is my absolute honor to share with you not only, I think, one of the greatest, one of the most iconic people in hip-hop, but also an incredible, incredible human being, which all of you are going to understand. So it's my honor and pleasure to bring to you Taboo Nawasha. Why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Coming to the stage.
Wow.
Coming to the stage, Jimmy Gomez.
Wow, bro. Wow, that was incredible. Why am I frozen? Why is this latency, bro?
There's a little bit of
See, it's
latency on it. It'll settle in here in a second.
Yeah.
Let's see it. I think we got it. You know
It's
what?
weird.
You know what, Jimmy? Do this. If you drop off of it, and this is where live is so fun. If you drop off and then come back in, we'll bring you right back in.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Okay. So this, guys, is live as can be. Every one of you. This is what live a live broadcast is. But I tell you, this is. There we go.
Well, was it good?
Yeah, you're good.
Is it?
Yeah, you'll see it on your side a little bit delayed, but you're completely cool on our side.
Okay, cool. First of all, can I say what an amazing intro that was, dude? Like exactly what you said earlier about making me feel like this is the best interview. I feel like this is the best intro that I've ever seen, I've ever had. Individually, as a group, this is just, this means a lot, man. Because you're such a motivational person. Your podcast is motivational because of the people that you've had. And your energy as a human being, you as a human being. And I know you have a lot of people that champion you and support you. So I'm just honored to be on your podcast. What's up, Kelly?
Hey, it's an absolute honor to have you here. Why does this introduction, coming to the stage, Jimmy Gomez, why does that ring true? And what voice did you hear it the first time?
I heard Jamie's husband. Because I am. At the end of the day, let's keep it a buck, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the day, when the black eyed pea cap is off or cape is off, and I'm just at home, you best believe I'm washing dishes, I'm helping walk the dogs, I'm taking kids to school because I love it. This is what makes up Jimmy Gomez. Not the stuff on stage, not the stuff that people see in music videos. That is one small percentage of what I, as a human, as a husband, as a father, represent. And so when I heard that as the first thing people get to know about me, you sold me on that, bro, because that's who I am. And then you mentioned my kids, and that's another thing is like the love that I have for being a father, raising these amazing little humans that will eventually go off and be adults. And one of them is an adult. It's a blessing, and I always take it to heart when people acknowledge that. So the fact that you said Jamie and my kids, you had me at that, bro.
Well, there was a matriarch. There was a matriarch in your family that used to yell out, coming to the stage, Jimmy Gomez, and got
Yes,
you
sir.
storytelling in the first place. Who was that woman?
That was my grandmother, my nanny from Jerome, Arizona. She
Mm.
would sit in her chair like this, and she would say, "From Los Angeles, California, give it up for Jimmy Gomez." And I would be performing in her living room, and that was the energy that allowed me to dream, bro. One day I'm in the living room of my grandmother's house, and then the next thing you know, I'm gonna be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show in 2011, and that type of dream and support system is something that my matriarch, my nanny, really embodied, and she embraced it. The role of nurturer, supporter, person that advocating for me to go after my dreams, dream big, believe you can achieve. That's what she used to say, and she taught me that not only performing and preserving the art form of dance was something special, but also preserving the love for our tribal connection and our indigenous roots, because she was so intrinsic to her native culture, and she loved being a voice. And maybe she didn't speak for all tribes, but she definitely knew how to speak for one.
So take us back to that early time, because there was a lot of breakdancers in that day. You were born in 75. I think that was the golden
Yep.
year, I believe. We
Yep.
could represent that. Um, but in these early years, when breaking first came out, there was only a couple of moves, right? What was the one that you mastered, and when did you start to see that breakdancing could be something? Because it was almost not outlawed, but it wasn't looked at as you can have a profession in this.
Yeah, so my first introduction to hip hop was Wild Style, a movie, Wild Style, which is about graph writing, graffiti, however you want to put it. It was about muralism, graffiti, b-boying, MCing, and DJing. And so I love the four elements of hip hop. I grew up on that, right? So although I wasn't a DJ, I love the art form of scratching and cutting up techniques and all that, right? I love tagging. So I got into styling on with graffiti and tagging, and it was beautiful to me. Like the way that they would do the bombs and the different characters and the pieces, how they would use their artistry on walls or on subways. And this is New York, right? Wild Styles from New York. Then I saw Beat Street. Beat Street. And I saw Rocksteady Crew, and I saw this kid who looked like me, Puerto Rican kid named Crazy Legs. Shout out to Crazy Legs. And although I'm not Puerto Rican, I am Mexican and native. And so the skin color, the vibes, the way that he talked, the way that he stood was something, the bravado, it spoke to me. Like, yo, I want to be that. And I found out that he was a B-boy or break boy, because they would break or they would dance to the breaks that they would have in the parties, in the jams. So basically, people like, Cool Herc, different DJs that started hip hop would be mixing these records, and there was a break part where it was just instrumental, and they would be dancing to the instrumental. In turn, that's where they got their name, Break Boy or B Boy or B Girl. And so I would look at the moves, and I was like, "Yo, that floor work is dope." And then a movie that really inspired me to create my style was Breaking, with Blue Shrimp and Shabadoo, Poppin' Taco. These guys are from the West Coast.
Yeah.
And they were upstairs. Like when I saw Boogaloo Shrimp do the routine with the broom, I was like, yo, I can do that. I can do that. If I practice, I could stay up here and really rock my upstairs. So top rock, popping, locking, ticking, tutting. I was trying to do all that because it was easier for me than doing groundwork, because I know groundwork comes with a lot of pain. When you crash and you're doing flares or 90s or freaking windmills, you're crashing your knees, your back. Things are getting hurt. So I said, let me practice my upstairs. I do a little bit of groundwork, but upstairs was my thing. So I got into popping, locking, and really rocking footwork too. Like footwork was important because if you look at a lot of tribal powwow style dancing, it's all about footwork. And so I was also inspired by watching, the Aztec dancers at Placita Olvera in Los Angeles, And so this was like an indigenous representation to the art form of dance and how sacred dancing has been to tribal communities. So all that beautiful mosaic of dance was the thing that inspired me to really practice and to go after my own style.
When you first started, was there resistance? Because I remember, like, I I don't know that I could call myself a b-boy, but I mean, I got into it, and I told you about my name. I even had a breakdancing name at the time, which my brother still laughs at today. He's like, how you going to be baby fresh? Sounds like a deodorant, right? But when I would go, we would go to the youth center, and you remember when Egyptian Lover would hit, like off the
Yeah, dude.
jukebox.
Yep.
And if it hit, it was like, bam, there's a circle. And all the guys, most of the time, had a little bit more melanin than I did. Shout out to Speech, his new song,
Yep.
Melanin. So
Yep.
they had more melanin than me, and they would always pick me out, which at the time, it wasn't a good idea to do that, right? And did you ever have any resistance? Because I had resistance at first until I could dance, and then once once they realized that you could rock, it was like everyone was encapsulated. But it was almost this fraternity inside of it of saying, like, if you can, you're down. If not, we're going to keep you on the outside. Did you feel that at all? Did you get that?
So I got resistance from my own people.
Mm.
There was this big separation in Los Angeles about black and brown in the 80s. And the area I was in was predominantly Mexican and predominantly Asian. So after I moved from Ball Heights, East LA, I moved to this place called Rosemead. And that's when I really got into breaking and dancing. And so there was this kind of this hesitance or this like separation amongst anything related to black culture, because the blacks and the Mexicans had this war going on in the prison systems.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, because I was doing, I was dancing to hip hop, I had black friends, I had a black girlfriend, because I was all about like love, man. I didn't care what race we were just people, right? I loved hip hop culture because they didn't care what color I was, they just embraced me. So it would always be like, hey, you're done with the blacks, Holmes? Hey, dog, you're acting like a black dude, Holmes. You're dancing like a black dude, eh? Like, that was the resistance. And that was from the gangsters of the neighborhood. Like, they were very hardcore against anything that dealt with representing black culture. And so, unfortunately, I lived through that divide amongst the gente, amongst Mexicanos. And fast forward to now being able to do something that unites brown and black, or black and brown, with a song like East LA. And my brother and I, will.i.am, him being from a Mexican community, being raised by all Mexicanos, being a black family, the only black family in East LA, it taught me that I stuck to my guns, because I was like, yo, I don't care what race, color we are. We got love for everybody. So if I'm dancing, I'm just going to dance to represent me. As a native Mexicano, I'm going to represent and do it to the best. If I'm battling a black dude, an Asian, a white, a Puerto Rican, it don't matter. I'm just there to annihilate, and that was the b-boy bravado. And it's the same thing, bro. Like it doesn't matter what nationality you are. If you can rock, you better step up and do your thing and represent. And so that's kind of how I got away with it. Is even though there was like this pushback with the gangsters in my neighborhood, I think they just weren't open to the idea of mixing races and having collaboration amongst multiculturalism.
Well, Taboo, I was listening to your podcast, and I thought the interview with Kel was so incredible, completely unexpected too, by the way. And you talked about the unfair advantage that you had because you were a theater kid and that you did drama. Can you talk about that? Because my daughter's in drama. My daughter, McKenna, she's 16 years old. I'm getting goosebumps right now. She found her thing in theater, and she found her people. But what unfair advantage do kids have, and how important is theater and drama and the arts in school right now?
So unfortunately, we live in an era of this tells you what's cool and what's not. This device right here, right? For the kids, they get brainwashed by this device. So a lot of times, kids are trying to be judgmental about arts, music. If it's not sports, if it's not, quote unquote, what the cool thing is. Like Pharrell Williams said it best. He was like, I was a band nerd, hence the name NERD. So he knew that he loved playing drums, and he was going to be part of this marching band in high school. Him and Chad Hugo, and they were like, "Yo, we were outcasts, bro, because we played in the marching band." And same thing with me. Like I always felt like because I'm a drama kid and I want to learn the craft, it was more about learning the craft and putting in the hours, bro. So if you know about outliers, ladies and gentlemen, the practicing over 10,000 hours is key to my evolution and my success and all the things that I really put my mind to. I was telling Kelly that along with drama and theater, I was also really great at playing baseball, but I didn't put the hours in that I should have put in because I probably my investment in performing and dancing was more important than playing baseball. I didn't want to be a jock. I wanted to be an entertainer. I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to be like on a big stage because I always felt this stigma with jocks. Even though I felt like I loved playing baseball, I didn't want to be categorized. I wanted to be categorized as the guy that's performing at the halftime show, the guy that's doing the talent show. Like that was my calling. And so to answer your question about drama and theater, I think it was an advantage because I got to be able to learn about acting, learn about production, learn about call times, learn about, just the timing and choices when it comes to acting and projection. A lot of people didn't know about projection, kids. When you're talking, and it doesn't have to be so loud, but I'm just giving you an example of like projecting and knowing how to bring it down and how to be subtle with the scene and just letting your face say things. You know what I mean? Like just subtle approaches to things. That's just like you had a bad day today. You're in your head. You're thinking, right? Instead of being like, oh my God, like you're just overacting. So I learned choices of subtle choices with the face. Because a lot of times you don't have to say anything. You don't have no dialogue. You're just there. And camera zooms in, right? Mid shot, wide shot, straight like in like a close up. And you're just like, it's your eyes that dictate the pace of the scene or your face, whatever feeling, whatever emotion is needed for that scene. So that's something that I was taught in drama and acting class.
So take us to 95, because is this when you and will.i.am and Apple meet at that time, or were you guys boys before and then you had the idea to be able to
Yeah, so we met in 1992, dancing, battling at a place called Ballistics, which is a club on the Sunset Strip that was put on by David Faustino, Bud Bundy from Married with Children.
Yeah.
And basically he had all kinds of different celebrities go there, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Robin Thicke, Scotty Khan, The Alchemist, Exhibit, Eazy-E from NWA. All these amazing celebrities were there. But then you had all these kids from LA, from different parts of San Gabriel Valley, from Glendale, from East LA, from West Covina. We all came there to battle. So when I first walked in and I saw Apple in the circle, I was like, wow, that's dope. That guy looks dope. He got a style kind of like mine. So we became friends. And then will.i.am, who was will.i.x at the time, was on the mic battling other MCs. And then our boy Polo, who was my manager, he was like, yo, I want my boy Little E to battle that dude, will.i.x. And so they battled. will.i.x beat this kid. He was like a little kid named Little E. Polo and will.i.x were going to fight. And then our other boy, Mook, was like, no, it's all good. So they stopped it. We kind of made an amends, and we all became a crew called Grassroots. And it all started at Ballistics. And so there was a group called A Tribe Beyond the Nation called At Band Clan that got signed to Ruthless Records. That was Will, Apple D-App, and another guy named Mookie. And so At Band Clan was the first music iteration of the vehicle, the journey with Will, right? will.i.am. And so they got signed with Eazy-E in 93, 92. And then they made an album. 94, they were supposed to release the album, but then Eazy gets sick. He goes to the hospital, and then he passes away, dude, unfortunately. And so Will and Apple had to get off the label because our brother Mook was like, yo, I don't want to do this music thing anymore. I'm I'm not trying to be part of this group. So he leaves the group. And so now it's just will.i.am and Apple. So Will1X becomes will.i.am. Apple Diap, he's just Apple Diap, right? And Apple Diap stands for Alan Pineda Lindo from Angeles, Pampanga. He's from the Philippines, and he's from a city called Angeles, Pampanga. And so that's Apple Diap, right? So I'm from a crew called Pablo. It was like a spoken words crew. They kicked me out of the group. So I'm having a conversation with Will. We're sitting at a loft, and I'm like, yo, dude, I just got kicked out of Pablo, bro. I don't know what I'm going to do, Will. And Will says, Tab, when we performed in Pomona, there was something special about you, bro. You're a performer. When you got on that stage, you didn't even have to say anything. You just like, your face said it all. And I was like, oh, wow, drama class. I knew how to dictate the performance without even saying anything because I learned it in drama class, right? So then he's like, yeah, your energy, bro, the way that you're able to control the crowd. You don't even have to have rhymes. You just know how to connect with the crowd. I was like, oh, okay, so that was my years and years of like putting in work, practicing, performing in my backyard, dancing, just wanting to really immerse myself in the performance. And so he's like, yo, why don't you rock with me and Apple? I was like, cool. He's like, we're gonna start a new thing. You want to be down? I said, yeah, let's do it. I said, what are we gonna call it? He said, we're gonna call it Black Eyed Peas. And that was the beginning of Black Eyed Peas in 1995.
Was there a reason for the Black Eyed Peas, like the name Black Eyed Peas?
Yeah, so Black Eyed Peas Production was the name of his production company when he was at Abang Clan. Him and Motivate, another guy that was producing. But it wasn't Eyed Peas. And so then when we became Black Eyed Peas, me, Will, and Apple, the meaning and the idea of what it represented. Black Eyed Peas being good luck from the South, soul food. We feed the soul with our music. And so that's how it all came about.
Native tongue. We talked about this before, the influence of native tongue. And I didn't realize this until we were just talking before we started recording. Take us down that part of it, because for those listening, favorite group of all time, and even my kids, my daughter at 16 listens to De La Soul. Like,
that's dope. Same. My kids are the same. De La Tribe. I even have them like really studying J Dilla and Slum Village, and just because that's the core memories of like how production for me is supposed to sound. Whether we're talking about bossa nova, we're talking about jazz, samples, soul, R&B, like the way that Q-Tip would chop up his samples and his drums were truncated, and the way that, De La Soul, whether they were working with Jay Dilla or they were working with, Prince Paul, like everything always felt like a story, and it felt very international. And so that's how Black Eyed Peas, we wanted to make our music international. We're going worldwide, across the nation, now that we've activated all communication. So we always had that, like, we on that London shit, the spaced out shit, the overseas. It was just, I'm thinking about rhymes that we did back in the 90s. And it was always international. It's like, we're kids from LA. We've never seen international, bro, but we had rhymes that were international, right? So that idea came from the native tongues. Like, yo, there's this group of bohemian, like Afrocentric dudes that are from different crews. You had Jungle Brothers. You had, I'll even put LONS in there, Leaders of the New School, Busta Rhymes, Charlie Brown. You had De La Soul. You had Moni Love. You had Queen Latifah. And you had Tribe Called Quest. And so all those people come together and make the super group like the Avengers. We always felt like, yo, we want to be that for our city and our neighborhood. It's like, how do we go international with it? So the idea of the native tongues movement was why we started Grassroots Movement, which is like our version of that in LA. And we had, MCs, singers, but and this crew, we had dancers instead of just only MCs and musicians. We had dancers because we come from the dance community, producers, and so that was our version of native tongues. And we just ran with it, bro. We're like, yo, wait a minute. And then I thought about it. I'm like, I am native. I'm proud to be a native man. I'm proud to be Native American, however you want to call it, indigenous, native. I'm proud, right? And the fact that we had native tongues as an inspiration was something that I didn't even think about. And then on top of that, our dance crews, Will and Apple's dance crew was called Tribal Nation. My dance crew was called Tribal Brothers. So there was always this tribe, native, always influenced by the idea of this beautiful ancestry that I really reconnected with as I got older.
When it started to go, when did you start to realize? Because I was telling you when I reached out, my message to you was in '98. I saw you at the Belly Up Tavern here in Solana Beach, and
Correct.
I had moved away from my family. I was very alone at the time. Didn't have any friends. I was just working. I mean, it was great, but I had fell in love with the first album, and Joints and Jams came out, and I was rocking it in my 1988 two-door Honda Accord with third gear that didn't work. And I rode that bad boy all the way up to Solana Beach from North Park by myself to a concert. I'm standing in line by myself, and who do I see? I see Taboo walking up and down the line, shaking hands with everyone, saying hello, and thanking them for coming to the concert.
Mm-hmm.
You have kept that same spirit the whole way through. When did you realize that this thing was starting to catch? And was there a pinch me moment for you during that?
Yeah, honestly, I'll get into the moment where I stopped being that guy, because for the beginning half of my career, I was that guy, very personable, very appreciative, humble, humility, confidence, not arrogance, and that's what you saw when I saw you at Belly Up Tavern. Was that guy, that version.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is a show about transparency. This is a show about really putting your clear-headedness, your mindfulness, being mindful that there is a story beyond success and glamour and glitz. And, I didn't have my aha moment until the monetary gain came. But that came with a price. And I'm going to dive into it because you opened something that I need to resolve. So 90s was the era of sobriety, young kid, fresh out of working at Disneyland in 95 to pursue my dream at night with the Black Eyed Peas. Disneyland during the day, Black Eyed Peas at night. But I was working a corporate gig so that I could facilitate, taking care of my son. I had a son at a young age, and I am in no way condoning teen pregnancy, but it happened. That's my Mexican side. Having kids at 17. Okay, so that was a joke, but it was, I'll embrace it. I had a kid at 17, dude. And I was a young father pursuing my dreams, my aspirations, and I was clear-headed. Not until fame and success started to creep its head did I start indulging. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, I indulged. I overindulged. So if you look at the earlier years of Black Eyed Peas, when we did like, Hey Mama, Let's Get It Started, you notice a different person in the videos. You notice a guy with long hair, a guy with sunk-in cheeks like this. That Kelly said, "Oh, I thought you were Japanese." Yeah, I thought I was Japanese too, because I look straight up pale and freaking sunk in. I just look crazy, bro. But that was the overindulging, ladies and gentlemen. So I overindulged from the time that, like the success really started in Elephunk, during Elephunk, which is 2003. I had my 2 albums, Behind the Front, that Kelly alluded to with Joints and Jams. And then I had Bridging the Gap. But when Elephunk came around in 2003, the money started coming. And when the money started coming, the drinks and the party favors and the over excessiveness started happening. So I paid a price. And I wrote a book about it in 2010. But in 2007 is when I had my aha moment of clarity. Because I got pulled over, got caught up. I was intoxicated, overindulged. And from that point on in 2007, that's when I changed my life to become a sober being. And for me, sobriety is sacred. And I say this with ultimate respect to those that may still, I'm not the guy that's like, oh, you're drinking, you're having wine. Like, that's cool. That's what you do. But for me, for Jimmy Gomez, I didn't have no breaks. There was no middle ground. It was just from 0 to 60. I needed to get totally messed up in order for me to have a good time. And so I learned from it. And I said, I want to be able to help be a beacon of light to those that are battling addiction. And now 18 years removed from that time period, I'm glad that I was able to overcome that. And, all that being said, the success was not the aha moment. The falling really hard to get back up was the aha moment, because I needed to fall. I needed to learn what it's like for this to be all taken away because of my overindulgence. Just a glimpse, so that I can get so scared that I never do it again. And I just live the life of like wanting to be inspirational, to inspire our 7 generations, to be a beacon of light to our communities, whether we're talking about our Mexican community or our indigenous communities, and really advocating for the idea of survivorship and living that life where you can have misfalls, you can have missteps, you could step on landmines, but it's your bounce back. How are you able to bounce back and be a better version of yourself than you were yesterday? And so that was my aha moment.
Do you think that God put things in your life? Like the song Fallen Up was way before this happened. Your book is called Fallen Up. You actually, the inspiration of you, when you fell up. Do you think that God had given you a prophecy with a song, or what was that song actually about when you wrote it? But I feel now, looking at you and hearing it, that was a precursor to what was going to transpire.
Yeah, I felt like we just knew how to, as a group, we had feelings and emotions, and we wrote about those emotions. And at the time, there was this East Coast, West Coast beef, which was so silly in hip hop culture. And if you look at the Fallen Up video, we're pioneers in the video. We're dressed like pioneers, black and white footage. We're backpacking in this like very desolate hill mountaintop where there's nothing there. And the metaphor is we're pioneers in hip hop, bringing this West Coast love, but it's inspired by a lot of East Coast artists like De La and Tribe. And so there's this sign. We stop at a crossroads, and you either go west or east. And we decided to go up the mountain, because we were like, we're not going to be like, we're not going to be about coast. We're going to be about falling up and going up with our good medicine and the therapy that we bring to the world with our music, because there's something bigger up there, whether it's God, whether it's Creator giving us a sign to be like, yo, don't get caught up in this East Coast, West Coast thing. You guys got more positivity and optimism to bring to the world. And so that was the metaphor, and I thought we really utilized that very well, which allowed me to really step into it as I got older and understand that Falling Up was a precursor. And without even knowing, that's how I felt like, dusting off my knees, falling down all the time, so inebriated that I needed to fall up and stand straight and really pick myself up and say, look, you're not going to make that mistake anymore. You're going to live a better life, be a better version of yourself, because we love you being upright. We don't like you falling over, stumbling, being a mess, a hot mess, and, not taking care of yourself. And so I think that was, it all tied into the idea of just living a better lifestyle, and Falling Up was the metaphor.
So I think a lot of times when people hear a story like yours, Taboo, they hear it and they say, okay, cool, like, bam, here's this ascension. But then you had another setback. I mean, you're a cancer survivor, and you have another setback in it. And I love this part of the story, because I think a lot of times people will look at you as a charmed life. Hey, he came out of East LA, one of the biggest, if not the biggest artist in the last 20 years, transcended hip hop, transcended pop music, all these things all over the world. Oh, wow, he just lives this charmed life. but it doesn't come without the lumps.
Yeah.
What was that cancer journey like for you? And where were you? What were you wearing? What did the room look like when you got the diagnosis?
Literally lumps, bro. Because I had a tumor in my back. It was a big lump, big 4-centimeter lump. So 2011, we go on a hiatus, whatever that means. Hiatus. I don't know, like, I didn't come up with it. I don't even know what that means. It's silly because me, Will, and Apple are still going. So, shout out to everybody that was part of that era, but now we are in 2025. And the idea of survivorship came from this one moment in 2014. I had been doing some DJ gigs because I was like learning how to DJ, but also performing, my own stuff and trying to figure out what my next move was because Black Eyed Peas was on hiatus, so we weren't active as Black Eyed Peas. We were all chasing individual stuff, which is silly. I'll never do that again, bro. Like, I love my group. I love being with Will and Apple. I'll do stuff with my daughter, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Because I love acting with her and I love doing voiceover work with Jet and my other son, Jimmy. But 2014, I got diagnosed with cancer. And to describe where I was in Atlantic City. I did a show by myself, and I started getting back pain. I was like, oh, maybe it's because of the flight. Maybe it's because I banged my back when working out. I don't know what was going on because I had been working out like a beast, bro. So I was like physically in top shape. So then I get home from this excruciating chronic pain that I had on the plane. I get home and I tell my wife, you know what? I don't feel good. I feel like I got the flu, but I also have this back pain, and I'm starting to have this abdominal pain. And she's like, why don't you just lay down and see if it gets better. So I lay down. The room is dark, but there's this feeling in the air of like uncertainty because I didn't know what this pain was coming from. I'm like tossing and turning. You know how when you close your eyes but you're still awake and you can't shut off your mind and your brain is just like constantly going after, was it the flight? Was it the gym? Did you strain a muscle? Like I started running all these different scenarios in my mind to the point where the pain started getting more severe. And finally I said, I got to go to the ER. My wife's like, what? I said, I have to go to the ER. There's something in my body that's not right. I don't know what it is. So I get in the car. I'm driving like this, bro, hunched over in the car, driving myself because my kids are sleeping. So my wife can't leave with me, right? We're not going to wake the kids up because they're small. So I said, you just stay here. I'll drive myself to the ER. I get to the ER, and I'm like hunched over. I'm waiting, and they have me filling out some forms. And I'm like, ma'am, I pull my card. I never pulled my card, ladies and gentlemen, but I pull my card. I said, ma'am, I want to tell you something. That was a nurse. I said, ma'am, I'm a local resident. I'm from a group called the Black Eyed Peas. I'm a musician. And I'm in severe pain. She's like, oh, I know you. Like, she recognized me, dude. So I never pull my card, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because I don't need to pull my card. I'm just Jimmy Gomez. But this moment in the freaking ER, I needed whatever strings I needed to pull to get in there, I did it. And yes, my group saved me. Because I was like Black Eyed Peas. She's like, oh, I know your group. So then she got me into the freaking ER faster. So ladies and gentlemen, this is not about me wanting to always drop my name and pull the Black Eyed Peas card. But in this instant, something was telling me you need to go, you have disparity. These are desperate times for you. So you better pull everything you can. You better pay, bribe, whatever you need to do. Just pull it out. And fortunately, the Black Eyed Pea card helped me. I get back to the ER. I start doing CT scans, MRI scans, blood work. And I go through this crazy freaking scenario of all this lab work and tests to finally at 7 in the morning, my doctor comes in. Her name is Dr. Prasadio, and she's like, Mr. Gomez, I don't want to alarm you, but I want to be honest with you, and I want to let you know that you've been diagnosed with cancer. And I was like, what? She said, you were diagnosed with cancer. She didn't tell me what type of cancer I had, ladies and gentlemen. She just said, you've been diagnosed with cancer. So I went into shock. The first thing I thought about was my wife and my kids. Am I going to live? Am I going to die? What does this mean? How severe is it? All these different things in my head. And so an oncologist comes in and he says, from the test, we found a mass in your spine, in your 2 lymph nodes, a big lump, big mass. And, we can offer you 2 things. Number 1, we can offer a consultation for you to start chemotherapy. And I was like, chemotherapy? What's chemotherapy? I didn't know. I've never known anyone that had cancer. So I never dealt with chemotherapy. And so I said, can I get a second opinion? They're like, well, you can get a second opinion, but you're running out of time because your mass is spreading, and it's spread from your right testicle. So the second thing we have to do is take that right testicle out because it's so bad. It's basically done. So you got to take that out. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, we're going to have surgery. So I went into surgery the next day, got my right testicle removed. And I'm being candid with you guys, ladies and gentlemen. This is important. I have no filter about this. This is just me being honest, letting you know that I am talking about prevention. I'm talking about making sure you check yourself, men and women, because I was scared. I didn't want to check myself. I didn't want to get tested, but I did. And unfortunately, I found that my right testicle was the cancer freaking host. And so then I meet with Dr. Agus, who was my quarterback oncologist, and he says, we're going to have to go into chemotherapy on Monday. So I went into chemotherapy for 12 weeks, 5 days a week, 6 hours a day. And it was like war, nightmare, torture all in one because I wanted to give up. I wanted to give up. But fortunately, I fought on. My wife inspired me. She was my rock. My kids, my bandmates, will.i.am and Apple were there for me. So, I live this trauma, but I also look at it like if I can inspire those to get checked and have ways to prevent from going through what I went through, then that's what I want to do.
What are some of the things that, if you're okay with sharing, what are some of the things that your wife said to you in confidence that gets you through? And when I say this, I've got a beautiful wife named Brooklyn. She was a B girl growing up, so she's a huge. I told her that you were coming on the show, and she was blown away. And you'll meet her because the Encinitas connection, the whole 9.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
She always has the right thing to say. And the other day, I was, going through something. I was in something emotionally, and I was in a little bit of pain. And she pulled me aside, and she just looked at me, and she was like, "Stop being a little bee." And then moved on, right? And for me, it was the greatest thing ever. I don't share it with everybody. Obviously, I just shared it right now. Is there things that Jamie says to you that, that just kind of move you through and move you on to that next level?
She does. She's my biggest support system without having to, as my kids say, glaze me. She's not a person that's glazing me. She's just supporting. My kids, they use that word glaze, right? So I think the moment when I was battling cancer, it was my 3rd round of chemo. I came home and I was feeling like crap. And I told her, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to stop going to chemo. And she's like, you can't stop. You're almost in the finish line. I said, no, I feel like crap. I don't want to do this anymore. I started getting all emotional and just getting having a hissy fit because the chemo and the morphine was kicking in and it was just bad. And mind you, I'm an addict, bro. So any Pandora's box being unlocked with drugs, let alone morphine, painkiller, I started feeling myself. Started feeling like, oh, I like this feeling, but I want to hide it because I know that if I open this feeling, then I'm going to need it. So I was trying to fight that part of me too, that demon that was stored away from my sobriety. The demon being the drug, the demon being unlocked by the morphine. And unfortunately, I didn't have the answer. So my wife's like, why don't you listen to these meditation tapes? So I go upstairs, I put on meditation tapes, I put on the headphones, and it's Deepak Chopra. And honestly, his voice was so freaking annoying, dude. I'm being honest, bro. I'm gonna keep it a buck. My guy's tone, his fervor, his timbre of his tone was horrible. I hated it. I hated his voice at the time because I'm on morphine and I'm on chemotherapy, and anything that's like, I don't know, there was just this frequency and this wave of his the way that he was talking was like, oh, shut up. So I took the headphones out. I'm like, I can't believe my wife wanted me to meditate to this, and I'm hating because I was so messed up inside, and I was hating on the tone of his voice. He even might have been saying some dope stuff and motivational stuff, but I just didn't want to hear his voice. I hated that moment. And so I turned on the TV, and it's ESPN, and it's Stuart Scott delivering his message about his battle with cancer. And here's a guy who does sports. He's a sports analyst, an amazing sportscaster on ESPN. I had been watching him for a long time. I never really dove into him, but seeing his testimony about his battle with cancer and then seeing his two daughters go on stage with him, I was like, wow, he's speaking to me. And so now the TV is becoming a healing process for me. This ESPN hero. Then I keep it on ESPN. And then another 30 for 30 comes on with Jim Kelly, who's a football hero. And he's battling cancer. And so there's two pillars of good medicine that's being transmitted to me about two people from the sports world battling cancer. So I was like, wow. I start calming down, and I'm watching. And then I watch First Take, and I'm watching these things, this banter about sports. I'm like, wow, this is really helping me right now. Like, I'm calm. Maybe this is what I needed. And so I started really diving into sports again. I started becoming the Jimmy Gomez, the baseball player, loving sports and needing that unconventional healing through sports to get me through this wanting to give up doing chemotherapy.
Wow.
And it was my wife that sparked that with go listen to these tapes upstairs. So if I never would have went upstairs and got annoyed by Deepak Chopra and took the headphones out, I would have never turned on Stuart Scott on ESPN and watched that good medicine that was being transmitted to me at the time. And now I'm a big sports guy because I tapped into it while I was doing chemo.
Speaking of the storytelling, I didn't realize this, but seeing your daughter Jet is a voice actor on Nickelodeon and on Dora.
Yes.
And then you've wrote, has it been multiple songs or for Dora too?
Yes, I wrote a theme song for the episode that Jet is my 9-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And dude, we've been blessed by the Nickelodeon family to embark on this journey with one of the most successful besides SpongeBob animated series throughout the years, 25 years deep of Dora, different iterations, 3D, 2D, feature films, television series, and now Jet and I are voicing two cockatoo birds. One of them is called Quickatoo, which is my character, and Jet's character's name is Quickatina, the daughter of Quickatoo. And I got to submit a song called Melodia, which now we're working on a remix for it.
The storytelling never ends. I mean, when you talk about like the cartoon, how does hip hop, cartoons, toys, sneakers, and Marvel Comics, and now you're an author, and you've been collaborated with Marvel Comics, the Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I mean, how do those things connect? Have you been able to use the same principles from when you were a b-boy saying, this deal is I'm standing across from it and it's either they win or I win? And have you continued to have that type of spirit when you go into these kind of deals?
Yeah. So just to give you a most recent example of how it all comes together. So, ladies and gentlemen, I grew up on cartoons, as most of us did in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Scooby-Doo, Super Friends, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Silverhawks, LJN wrestlers, WWF before they became WWE. I mean, I was a nerd since I was a kid, playing with toys and action figures. And just because I love the storytelling of it, I love these heroes without capes. I used to always want to be the native dude, whether it was Apache Chief, whether it was Spirit from G.I. Joe. I always wanted to be the native hero, right? Because I always wanted to see myself in these characters and these action figures.
Hey,
And
so
so,
Taboo, watch this. Who was your favorite WWF, the first one, the figure that you love the most?
so there was two dudes. One of them was because my name is Jimmy Superfly Snuka, because he was like this dope, exotic looking, yeah, Jimmy Superfly.
This is from when I was in 4th grade. This is the actual back home. This is Jimmy Superfly Snuka from 1984. I found it because I listened to your podcast
Yeah,
and he was your favorite. So there's
yeah,
Jimmy in his Speedo and all. So there he
that's
is right there.
yeah. So Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and then I also loved, there was a toss up between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat because he had the martial arts and he was like supposed to be from Hawaii, Japanese dope dude who always battled like, I mean, he was always a baby face. And then there was this other guy, his name was Tito Santana, and he was a Mexican dude. And so I love the Mexican representation because I also love lucha libre. And like people like the Guerreros. I actually got to interview Chavo Guerrero about his late, his love for wrestling and his legacy with his family, but also partnering up with the late great Eddie Guerrero, who's an amazing wrestler too. And he was all about raza. So I grew up with that as storytelling, but hip hop, comics, and kicks. So let me just give you an example of how deep it goes. So if you think about Miles Morales, Spider-Verse, it was an animated movie about a Puerto Rican kid, not Peter Parker, Miles Morales, that came from a comic book. In New York, he would tag on subways, hip hop. The soundtrack was hip hop. The sneakers that Miles Morales was wearing were Jordans. So that's comics. Miles Morales is an action figure or a toy. Hip hop and kicks. It all came together with the multiverse, Spider-Man, the multiverse with Miles Morales, and that started for me as a kid. My love for toys, and not until I got into writing for Marvel did I really understand the bridge between comics, storytelling, and action figures or toys. And so that's why I was like, you know what? I want to make this platform for people that love the sneaker game and people that love, collectibles, because it's a viable business, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm speaking to you from a business standpoint, not just the nostalgia, like, oh my God, you guys are collecting toys. Oh, no. Let's make it clear. They're not just toys. And a lot of people be like, yeah, you're like the 40-year-old version. You're like that guy. No. Actually, it's a viable business. If you think that people like Kaz and people like freaking Shepard Fairey and designers that come from the art world that actually create collectibles, and it's a viable business. Vinyl collectibles. I mean, for God's sakes, Labubu is a $2 billion freaking empire, and those are little collectibles, little chingaderitas. They're basically the 2025 version of Munchie Chi, right? Remember Munchie Chi?
Yeah.
You remember those? So that being said, the collectible space is heavy with viable business. It's a global enterprise. Comic books are still celebrated and highlighted in different Comic Cons or different cons around the U.S. and around the world. And then the idea of sneaker collecting and design is storytelling within itself. Because if you think of those fours right there that you have behind you, the black ones right there, those fours were designed by Tinker Hatfield. Tinker Hatfield was a storyteller and still is to this day, because he's designed from the 3s to the 4s to the 11 Concords, which is the patent leather ones, to the mags, the Marty McFly Back to the Future Part 2, the lace up the self lace up joint.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah.
That was a story that he told. So it's all correlated with storytelling, and I wanted to give a platform to those people that love comics, toys, and kicks, and that hence my podcast.
And I tell you, I love the podcast. I've been devouring it, which has been amazing. Are you familiar with Hender Scheme?
Hender Scheme.
Hender
No,
Scheme.
what is that?
Okay, I got to show you something because this is something that I picked up in New York. Let me see here. So, Hender Scheme is a Japanese designer, and he took and he does all the silhouettes of the classics. So this is the four,
Yeah.
but it's all Italian leather, and it's a dress shoe on the bottom.
Oh, hilarious, dude! Can he get sued by Jordan for the?
I think he collaborates with it, but this one I picked up because they have a nude leather too. Where
What is it called?
It's called Hender Scheme.
I'm gonna look it up. Hender Scheme.
Hender Scheme, yeah.
Okay.
And there's one other one that fits your style. Like I mean, I've followed you since '98. I've been a supporter since then. Are you a Visvum fan?
Yeah, the Visvum is dope. It's like a skate shop, right?
Yeah, well, and these ones, I just love these ones. They've got the
moccasins.
The moccasins.
Yeah.
So
You should check out Nike N7, dude. They got the real, and it's designed by actual indigenous artists and designers, and the money from the sales and the product goes to help tribal communities.
Really?
Yeah. So Nike N7 is the first and the only native division with Nike.
Wow.
Yeah. And some people have like a thing like, oh, Nike makes it sweatshops and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like all those sneaker shops work, in hand with somebody's always going to try to pull your card, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
What you say, how you do it, how positive you want to be. There's always going to be those naysayers, crab in the bucket mentality. But Nike N7 has been a leader and very transparent with the idea of giving back to tribal communities. And I was part of Nike N7 for a while too.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's go back to these 5 people, which is Jamie, Josh, Jimmy, Journey, and Jet. Yep. You explained the 4 of them. You're going to tag the persona to each one as the Invisible Man, the Banshee, the Wolverine, and the Hulk. Mm-hmm. But there's 4 of those. There's a 5th superhero in your life in Jamie.
Yeah.
Which superhero is she?
So she's like a mix between Nick Fury and Professor X, because they're the top dogs. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't really see them fighting, but they're like putting it all together. They're calling out to the Avengers. Professor X is leading the X-Men, so it's like my wife leads the dance at home. Without her, this household falls apart. And I know it's a tag team, it's a duel, but at the end of the day, like I credit her with like sticking with me when I didn't have anything, bro. Let's keep it a buck. She's known me since 1999. I wasn't paid. I didn't have anything. I was sleeping on my mom's couch, but she believed in me. Then she embraced my son Josh, who was not her kid. She was a stepmom, and she embraced it because she wanted to be there for me. Then when I was acting a fool and being freaking intoxicated and overindulgent, she stayed with me to see me become sober. And then we had a family together. We had Jimmy, Journey, and Jet. Jet was born after I battled cancer. And my wife stuck with me when I battled cancer. She saw me at my lowest point. She didn't care if I only had one testicle. And men know, if you don't have both testicles, bro, you get embarrassed. I'm keeping a buck. Talk about transparency. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I was embarrassed because it's our livelihood. Think about it. When women get one breast taken away, it's like they feel not normal. They don't feel right? So it's men, because we always are, that's our jewels. When one of your jewels is taken away, sometimes you get insecure. And I got insecure, and she's like, I don't care, dude. I love you for you. I don't care if you don't have anything. I care about you. And that was the metaphor. It's like my wife she's my rock. She'll be with me no matter what. ups and downs, trials and tribulations. She was always there to help me when I was falling down. She picked me up. She was there when I battled mortality with cancer, and now she's here with me 2025 when we're seeing our older son almost graduating from high school, going into college mode. Yeah.
How do you deal with insecurity when you're one of the most prominent figures in the world? You can't go anywhere and someone not know who you are. You don't have to pull your card. You did at the when you were talking about at the emergency room, but you're one of the most recognizable musical figures, I mean, of our generation. How do you deal with insecurity when you're in that position?
So a quote that I love that I heard was, "Your worst enemy, your worst enemy is your inner me." And I was like, "What? My worst enemy is my inner me? What does that mean?" So I looked in myself, like, yo, why am I always questioning myself? Why am I always like, dang, I should have been there, or man, I shouldn't have done that. Oh man, I should have approached that different. Because we're always questioning ourselves. Creatives, bro, we're always thinking. We're always in our own mess, right? Because we're, as my wife says, she's Filipino. She always says your brain is golo, which is like all over the place and messy. And I feel like a lot of times I am questioning everything. Man, I should have been there for my older son. Did I mess that one up? Like, and it's like my son is 33, but I'm so like insecure about the way that I was that I can't be present in 2025 with certain things because I'm always going back to the old version of me, and that's just being human. Sometimes we're wired so different, and we don't cope or deal with our layers and our issues. And therapy has helped me, but I'm not doing therapy all the time. So I feel like most of the times I am picking at myself. I'm being like a freaking crow that's like picking at a dead carcass on the road, and I'm picking at myself. Like, yo, it wasn't good enough, or I got to do better because that's just me. I'm competitive with myself, but the insecurities come from like these voids that I need to fill. Whether it was being a single parent, my wife being a person that helped me with raising my son, and for a long time I was a single parent. Having a kid at 17, not really being taken serious because they said I wasn't going to amount to anything because I was a teen parent. So all these issues that I've dealt with since I was a kid, they creep out at times. So that's where the insecurities come from. And with therapy, with professional help, I think that I've been able to cope and really understand where those layers come from.
Taboo, through the struggles come, I think, some of the greatest art. And you proved that snapping into action with East LA, your new hit single, right?
Let's go.
Hey,
I'm proud,
I
bro.
tell you, and I want to be completely real with you. Songs don't hit all the time right away. Like you turn it on, it's very seldom that you turn it on and it just bang, it hits. When you sent that to me the other day, because I didn't know, I'm getting goosebumps as I say it. By the way, within 3 weeks, over 12 million downloads. Just for saying.
Yeah.
That's just on YouTube. Over 12 million views just on YouTube itself. But the moment I pushed play, goosebumps, head knocking, wanted to repeat and repeat and repeat. How were you guys able to do that fast? Because, this is current. This just happened. The ICE raids, the things like that are happening, and you turned beautiful art from this struggle.
Yeah. That's a testament to my brother will.i.am's genius. This is a will.i.am Taboo song, and I'm not third-partying myself, but this is only Will and I. This is not a Black Eyed Peas song, because him and I are from East LA. Apple's from the Philippines, so it would be weird for him to be talking about East LA when he's not from East LA. So it wasn't a Black Eyed Peas joint. It was two kids from the barrios of East Los, Boyle Heights to be exact, creating a love letter for our childhood, all the beauty that is East Los, whether we're talking about Mariachi Plaza, whether we're talking about El Mercadito, whether we're talking about, raspadas on Whittier, Euclid, or the painting the picture on 6th Street Bridge, the lowrider culture, pocho, being a Mexican American, Chicano culture, uh, you know, all these different things that make our childhood what it was and really shaped and molded us to become, you know, people that really love being Angelinos. Like, I'm proud to be from Los Angeles, bro. East Coast is the thing that not only myself, my mom was a big, huge supporter of Garfield High School because she was an alumni, and she went to Garfield, and will.i.am's mom went to Roosevelt. So there was this East LA rivalry that happened even before me and Will met, before my mom even had me, or before Will's mom had him. They were in high school in East LA. So our parents were huge, huge pioneers when it came to their love for the neighborhood. And so for us, it was like, not only are we doing a love letter for our childhood, this is also for our moms. This is also for the way that we were brought up. And then the ice raids happened once we shot the video. And so we're like, this is bigger than just one thing. This is many things, and we're gonna stand in solidarity with those folks that have been affected by the ice raids, and all these beautiful people that are part of the video. They're from the neighborhood, and this is not glorifying freaking one sector or neighborhoods or barrios or cholos and cholas. This is bigger than that. This is about community. This is about subculture. This is about all that, everything that is the beautiful mosaic of East LA and the tapestry that is East Los Angeles. And so when we did it, we felt we felt compelled to also have the testimony at the end of the video where Will's talking about why he wanted to lead the dance on this, because he is an East LA legend. Even to this day, he's still part of the neighborhood. He's sending kids to college from his neighborhood, to D1 schools like Dartmouth and Stanford and MIT. He's doing that because he loves his community so much, and he's always been a pillar of Boyle Heights and East LA.
What struggle are you, Jimmy, wrestling through right now that you're starting to see the art come from it? And if so, what is that art that's starting to transform?
I'm not really battling anything or really what's the word? I think I'm just really embracing this person that I am now at 50 and riding this beautiful wave that is storytelling. Because like East LA is a story too. It's not just a music video. It's a testimony. It's if you think about the story that Will is depicting in his verse, it's about his neighborhood. It's like talking about one of the lines that I really love is when he said, I love Mexicanas from the border, make her my wife so ICE don't deport her. Like, that was the only line that had any connection to the ice raids or to what was happening. It was more depicting the story of like cholos on the GT performer, homies at the corner. He was talking about the guy that was selling coca and got 5 years for selling drugs. But then, he also talked about being raised with Aztec warriors, right? So all this beautiful legacy of depicting a story, whether you rock with it or not. Because some people would be like, this doesn't make me feel like I got a feeling. I don't feel like my humps. I don't feel like pump it. This doesn't make me feel that. I don't know what this East LA chola vibe is. And it's all good. It's not for you. It's okay. Not every song is going to be for you. And the fact that it's not a Black Eyed Peas song, even though it's two members from the Black Eyed Peas, this is our story. We wanted to tell our story, and whether you rock with it or not, we love you for that, because at least you gave it a test drive. And if you don't like this vehicle, there's many other vehicles that we'll bring in the future. But I think, East LA was just a direct reflection of the times that we're living in, the solidarity, standing with Raza, and then our love letter to East LA.
Who is Jimmy Gomez?
Jimmy Gomez is a husband, is a father, is a storyteller, is a fantastic third baseman ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about my baseball love. I keep telling you, Kelly, I'm proud, bro, and I'm being honest with you guys. If I didn't pick up a microphone and I didn't start b-boying or breaking or performing, I probably would have made Division One university playing baseball, and because I loved it, man. Even on tours, Black Eyed Peas, we have baseball games versus the Crew, and so I still keep on that dream and that beautiful childhood memory of being a baseball player, third baseman to be exact. And I hope to one day be able to do a celebrity baseball game where I can actually do something where we give back to community and make it about bringing people together and just playing ball for a cause, with a purpose.
So I have 100,000 more questions, but I do have an idea. I have an idea because listening to you on your podcast, and if you haven't tuned in yet, guys, you need to go to Taboo's Comics and Kicks.
Comics and Kicks, yep.
The podcast is fire.
Thank you.
I want more Jimmy in it. I mean, I love all the people that you interview. I tell you, I want 4 or 5 Jimmy episodes for one of the interview part. Like it is, I mean, it's mind blowing. Your storytelling and the journey through. Like I said, I have 1,000 more, but I've already taken more time than you said that I could have, and I appreciate it. My in the future, I want to interview you on your podcast because I believe that just continuing to draw you out and for the world to continue to know Jimmy Gomez more, I just think is phenomenal. So, but I tell you, I started the podcast because of my 2 kids, Maddox and McKenna. I didn't want them to I didn't want them to worship idols. I just wanted them to be inspired by iconic people like yourself. So what advice would you have for Maddox, who's a sports guy, and McKenna, who's a theater girl? He's 13, she's 16, from Uncle Taboo. If you could use both their names and call yourself Uncle Taboo, it would be awesome. Or Uncle Jimmy.
Yeah. Maddox and McKenna, this is Uncle Jimmy, letting you guys know how amazing your dad is, first and foremost. He's a great, I could say you're a friend now, bro, and I know we'll be connected with the whole, San Diego vibe coming soon. But I just want to let you guys know that passion and dreams are things that you can have at a time where sometimes you're feeling doubt. You're like, man, I'm not playing good today, or man, I wish I could have got that role in the play, or whatever you guys are dreaming on and believing in yourselves. But sometimes we have moments of doubt. I think it's important to look inside yourself and continue to practice and continue to get better, because we're still students of our disciplines and the things that we're into. Now I'm going into a different role of being a podcaster. I never even dreamed of being a podcaster. Never. But seeing people like your dad, seeing people like, Sean Stockman and Byron Scott, who are part of my family, they allowed me to dream. So you need people that have the same interests that you have. Maddox, if you're into sports, if you're into baseball, football, or basketball, or hockey, or soccer, whatever it is you're into, you need to find people that are into that, right? And then you support each other. Support is a big thing. If I never would have found will.i.am and Apple, I probably wouldn't have had the support to become Black Eyed Peas. But they really supported me. And McKenna, if you find people in your drama class or theater that are looking to practice their lines and trying to learn about choices and how can we, learn how to act without even having to have dialogue. Like, those are the conversations that you guys need to have. Because then when you have a strong support system, then you're able to dream together and double down on yourselves and have that strong connection with people that are like-minded and have the same dreams and aspirations you have.
Could you speak to 2 people right now? One, the fan that in 1998 heard Joints Jams, said this is real hip hop because it had all the elements. We had graffiti, we had DJing, we had dancing. out of your mind dancing at the belly up, out of your mind, going into the crowd. My neighbor just the other day said, I was at a Black Eyed Peas concert. Taboo came into the middle, started breaking, and his shoe flew off, and they wouldn't give him his shoe back. Talk to that fan. And then what do you wish that the person in 2003, 2004 that was like, oh my gosh, this group came out of nowhere? What would you say to both of those two?
So the 90s fan, I would say that thank God that you branched out and opened your mind to be able to see the world and not just be a niche backpack rap type of crew. Because honestly, with all due respect to that version of myself, it was very limited on the scope of what you can do. It was like you can do these type of clubs and you can do these appearances and you'll probably get like 300 people, 400 people, but you're not going to be able to go to the Philippines. You're not going to be able to go to Mexico. You're not going to be able to go to Kazakhstan, Romania, Brazil, freaking Yucatan, all these places that Black Eyed Peas was able to travel because of the success of the group. And did we lose people? Yes, we did. We lost people because they weren't really willing to take the popular journey that we were on. Because now everybody was ingesting it. It wasn't just the cool backpack rap folks. It wasn't just the Lyricist Lounge folks. It wasn't just the okplayer.com folks. It was now little girls from the Midwest that were cheerleaders and, kids and families from different parts of the world that may not have only been into De La Soul or Tribe, but they were into Gwen Stefani and they were into, Britney Spears and NSYNC, and then they like Black Eyed Peas. So it's okay. I embrace it because there was one group that taught us you don't have to be only one style. And that was Jungle Brothers. Jungle Brothers said, girl, I'll house you. Girl, I'll house you. Girl, I'll house you. And it was house music. And hip hop artists were like, house music? What? House music and hip hop? But Jungle Brothers like, no, dude. We're going to do this house music and infuse it with raps and rhymes. And we're going to take it international. That song, Girl, I'll House You, was international. That was a house record that was an international hit. Might not have been, things that the black backpack rap scene really embraced, but we learned like, oh man, if you mix house music or EDM, electronic style music, maybe it becomes an international frequency. So if you listen to like I Got a Feeling, Boom Boom Pow, Meet Me Halfway, Dirty Bit, The Time, those are electronic EDM fused songs with raps and melodic hooks and things that we were inspired by the Jungle Brothers in the 90s when they said Girl, I'll House You, to make a version of that what Black Eyed Peas created with those songs, which took us all over the world and the world embraced it. So, to the hip hop version of me, salute, you were cool. Should have washed your hair more often because it's really stunk back in the days. You didn't care about hygiene. You were just a b-boy that liked to break, and you were just like, whatever, I ain't washing my hair, I'm going on tour. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there was a moment where I didn't give up. Beep. Why? Because I was underground. Underground don't take showers. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm being funny. I'm being sarcastic. But there was moments where I was like, I was hating on pop. I was hating on like, oh, that's mainstream, that's pop. And it was whack because then I became the uber pop artist, right? And so that idea of hatred and crabs in a bucket because you don't have that shine and because you don't have that ability to maneuver and sell out stadiums, not sell out, but sell out stadiums and arenas around the globe. It's what my grandmother wanted. If my grandmother wanted me to just perform in her living room, the 90s version would have been that. But I think grandmother wanted me to go from the living room to the big stage of the halftime show at the Super Bowl. And that's why I think it was perfect that we ascended into this beautiful, crazy, out-of-the-world stratosphere run with Black Eyed Peas, but then we brought it home in 2025 with East LA. And it had no gloss, it had no floss, it was all about raza, and it was about community, and it was all about our love for our roots and our ancestry.
That's a mic drop right there. So do me a favor. You're looking into the screen. Your five superheroes, your Avengers, Jamie,
Yep.
Josh, Jimmy, Journey, Jet. What do they not hear enough from Jimmy, from Daddy, and from husband?
I mean, I tell him I love him all the time. That's not it. That's a great question, dude. You gotta understand, bro. I've done a lot of therapy, so I've done a lot of work on myself. So the question you asked is profound because I feel like even though I need to do better as a human, I feel like when it comes to love, when it comes to support, nurturing, different tonality, because my daughter's nurtured a different way than my boys are nurtured. I speak to them different than I speak to my daughter. I would probably say maybe I would say to my wife, don't worry, I got this. You don't have to worry about anything. I got this. I need to say that more often because I feel like she's always leading the dance when it comes to everything, that I need to take a load off of her shoulders and let her know, like, you can count on me. I'm your partner. I'm going to do this. Without you asking me to do something, I'm already doing it. I'm already dealing with the salt for the saltwater softener. I'm already dealing with the cleaning the garage. I'm going to go clean the garage right now. Kelly. I'm being honest with you guys, ladies and gentlemen. Talk about transparency and being candid. Yes, I am doing housework. I am domesticated, and I love it. Don't just think because we're on stage and we're performing and we're doing all this la-da-da-da. At the end of the day, I'm just a dad. I'm a husband, and I love it, and I embrace it. And I hope more men can be inspired by the vulnerability and the ability to be present, to be available, and to embrace it and not be scared to say, yes, I bust suds, I wash dishes, I contribute to the household. I'm not just a caregiver, I'm not just a provider, but I'm also contributing to the household, whether that means picking up kids from school, taking them to school, freaking washing dishes, cleaning out the garage, walking the dogs. Like, I love doing this because that's who Jimmy Gomez is. And Jimmy Gomez will always represent that and will lead with love. And at the end of the day, that's who I am. That's who I'm going to be. So I thank you guys for joining this party with me. Thank you, Kelly. Much love to you, and I'll see you soon in San Diego. Bro.
You are amazing, man. I tell you, that's an absolute mic drop. You're off the hot seat. Stick around for just 1 second while we run the commercial, and we'll do that. But I tell you, the first interview with you, but it's not going to be the last, Taboo. I appreciate you, man. I'm going to force you to be my friend for the rest of your life. You're officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Achieving, cause we believing it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting right before your eyes. So it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised over and over and over again.